In this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 key essential terms that you should negotiate in the renewable energy power purchase agreement that you would be signing with the renewable energy developer. Now, some of you would be like, कैसे negotiate करें, कौन से terms negotiate करें, किस terms का क्या impact है, हमें नहीं पता. So let me tell you, negotiation is very, very important while signing the renewable energy power purchase agreement, because it has to be a balanced PPA. You're getting into a long-term contract of renewable energy agreement. So it is very important to envisage all those situations that might come up over the next 15 years, 20 years and negotiate them today itself. And I'm not saying that it should be one-sided negotiation. It has to be both-sided win-win negotiation. And since you are getting into a long-term contract, so there might be certain situations that you are not aware of, and then you don't end up repenting later. So it is very, very important to be aware of all those situations today, and also the impact of those situations that might have while entering into a long-term renewable energy solution. So it is very, very important to negotiate and negotiate in a win-win way. So let's get started with the top 5 terms that you should negotiate in the power purchase agreement. Consider this. The first most important term that you should negotiate and evaluate and do a due diligence is how much capacity and quantum that you are buying for the renewable energy solution. Given the contract that you are entering into is ideally a take or pay contract, in which either you take the quantum that you are signing up for, the capacity, or you pay for that quantum. So it is very, very important and essential to do a thorough due diligence on how much quantum or how much capacity that you should sign up for. And the key parameters that you should evaluate while deciding the capacity is look at your load profile, look at the regulations in the state, do the forecasting of your load, and my advice to you is sign up a conservative capacity, because this is the very important term, very important parameter, because your entire agreement is dependent upon how much quantum that you are signing up for. The second important term that you should be aware while signing the PPA is the structure of the contract, whether you are signing up for captive structure, third party structure, group captive structure. There are so many structures like deferred capex structure while signing the power purchase agreement. The biggest mistake people do while deciding about the structure of the contract is not looking at the risk and benefit associated with it, and also mapping it with their company's risk assessment profile. For example, it is very, very important to look at the risk associated with each of the structure, whether it is captive structure, third party or group captive, and also look at the benefits associated with each of the structure, and then accordingly doing the risk assessment in terms of what is the cost benefit that you are getting, what is the investment that you are making, and keeping the mitigations in mind, you should decide about the structure of the contract. Which brings me to the third essential term that you should do a thorough due diligence upon is your capital investment or the equity investment. If you are doing a project, for example, if you're doing a project under a group captive or captive structure, you should be aware how much equity investment to be done, how it is being calculated, what are the regulations that is driving this equity calculation. If it is third party structure, there is no equity investment which is being required. And if it is like purely capex, wherein you're making 100% investment from your end, so the entire investment has to be done by you. So the tip to follow is this, to do a thorough due diligence on the project cost, its breakup, its component, and how it is being arrived, and then which will help you calculate the capital investment required in the project, and thus your equity investment as well. So this is very important to do the thorough due diligence on the project cost, so that you know how much capital that you need to invest and or the equity investment that you have to make. So this brings me to the fourth important term or that you should consider or do a thorough due diligence while negotiating a PPA is the proposed renewable energy technology that you are signing up for, whether it is solar-based solution or wind-based solution or a hybrid solar-wind hybrid solution. So this is important depending upon the parameters that you can consider while deciding upon the technologies, what kind of resources in terms of if your state is has high solar radiation or has a better wind profile, accordingly you can decide which resource that you should go for. Second, typically sun generates power during the day, as you know, and the wind during the night, so it should match with your load profile as well, so that the matching of the generation of wind and solar with your load profile is the second parameter that you should consider while deciding about the technology. And third is consider the ROI, right? How much investment that you're making in wind or solar or in wind solar hybrid, what is the output that you're getting generation, and then calculate which resource is giving you better ROI. So essentially, to do a thorough due diligence on this term, look at the availability in your state, second, your load profile, and third, the ROI expected from each of that resource. Before I go to the fifth and essential term that you should negotiate while signing the power purchase agreement, let's review the first four terms that I talked about. First, the quantum, the capacity of the renewable energy solution that you're signing up for. Look for your load, regulations in the state, and also go for the conservative approach. Second, the structure of the contract, whether it's a captive, group captive, third party, or any other structure. Third, the capital investment or the equity investment that you have to make, depending upon the structure. Do the thorough due diligence on the project cost and then calculate your capital investment or equity investment. Fourth, the proposed technology, whether it is solar, wind solar hybrid, look at ROI, resource availability, etc. Right? So now I'm going to share with you the fifth most essential term that you should negotiate while signing the renewable energy power purchase agreement, which is the expected generation profile. So depending upon whether you're signing up for wind solar hybrid, which all of this has a different generation profile. So while you're signing up the contract, it is very important that what is the generation profile that you are signing up for, and it should match with the load that you currently have. And it also depends, higher the generation, the better it is. So how much generation that you're getting every year, how much is the degradation? For example, wind doesn't have the degradation, and then for how much would be the generation that you're getting for 25 years, because this generation is actually the units that you would be getting, and this would actually convert into your cost savings, thus the ROI. These are the 5 critical terms that you should negotiate while signing up the power purchase agreement. And these are not just only 5 terms, there are many other terms which you need to negotiate, and I'll be covering in my subsequent videos. But the key is to stick to the principles of these terms that I talked about. Do a due diligence on the parameters that I talked about in each of these 5 terms, because there is a lot of noise in the market. You'll get many renewable energy solutions from different developers, so that you don't get confused by the noise. Follow this framework or the tips that I've shared with you to do a thorough due diligence on these 5 terms and the parameters that I've shared with you to do the due diligence. Because if you stick to the basic, you will have better control rather than being carried away by the noise of each of the renewable energy solution. And if you want to know more about how to negotiate these terms in detail, then I have a special invitation for you to book a free consultation support with me and my team for booking a 1-hour meeting slot with us, wherein in that meeting, we will understand your requirements of each of the terms in detail and help you decode that terms, or how to evaluate, how to do a due diligence on that power purchase term in detail basis your renewable energy requirements. If you find a value in this video and you resonate with my thought process on how to negotiate the power purchase agreement and the key terms to negotiate in the power purchase agreement, then click on the link below, register yourself for a free consultation, 1-hour consultation with me. It's an investment of 1 hour of time of yours, but you will get value which is worth 1,000 or probably lakhs. And make sure that you register on this link below, and I look forward to see you in 1-to-1 consultation Thank you for watching my video. I'll see you in my next video.